You see something? Say something.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, because we already have Sean Gardner demonstrating over there. That you can also, one of the better ways that you can interact with the show throughout is on those social pages. Good afternoon to you as well, as we get more people in there. And also, if you want to drop those likes and reacts, we do appreciate it. It helps us with all those algorithmic things. But in any case, yes, comments going on there more or less throughout the entire program. Don't necessarily always get to all of them here, because sometimes the conversation goes too fast and too furious. So earlier, the better that way. But also phone lines a little bit later in the show, as we normally do. So given yesterday's bombshell announcement about the resignation for the DA for El Paso, a lot of more questions are coming up, including what happens now. Of course, there are some timelines that we're talking about here, though exactly when those will be put into place, how long interim or replacement or temporary, all these kind of phrases will be in place, are definitely a few of the questions remaining. But one of the ones I want to delve into is who might be the replacement, and maybe not necessarily a total exactly like I think it's going to be this person, but there are a few names that do come to mind that we'll discuss, maybe more of a category, but that's at least part of what the discussion is definitely going to be, as we are going to be awaiting essentially ball in Governor Greg Abbott's court now, and going to be in place for unless someone else can find something that points to a different answer for the next 2 years. As we also have Ida Beza Gardner joining us over there. Hello to you as well. And Eric von Holstein Ratho. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Bien, ¿y tú? Ready for the show? Hope you are, because we got another good one for you today. So a little bit more, I guess, maybe speculation on those parts of it here, but also some more interesting economic factors. I keep talking about mixed factors, and that's for a reason. More strong spending going on nationally whenever it comes to Cyber Monday. If I'm not mistaken, final numbers even beating out Black Friday, even just in online shopping. So significant going on there, but some, well, interesting situations that could be affecting us. I mean, you've heard a couple of these things, including potential rail strikes, but also potential impacts to imports or exports from the U.S. and imports into Mexico that could probably be affecting things in this region before too long if some very careful agreements are made there. As Juan's also hello from the YouTube world, hello to you as well, and also dropping those likes and reacts, Ion Graham and Ida Beza Gardner, do appreciate it. So a lot to get into here today, so let's just dive right in with the discussion for the district attorney's office. For anyone living under a particularly large and soundproof rock, we have had the announcement by Yvonne Rosales, the district attorney for El Paso, of her resignation effective middle of next month, December 14th. Technically 5 p.m. is when it will be effective, but a couple of questions are there in the interim. Of course, there has been the kind of temporary replacement, let's use that phrase at this point in time, of someone existing, an existing assistant district attorney. And though Governor Greg Abbott will be the one appointing the interim or temporary replacement. I'm getting my phrases mixed up here because it gets a little bit confusing, because you might think like, okay, elected official steps down as the replacement. Well, this is not just your run-of-the-mill elected official, of course, there. And John Browsleton. Okay, I see you're trying to make a partisan point here, John Browsleton, saying that the scheduled resignation for El Paso's DA is proof that El Paso will vote for anyone with a D after their name, regardless of qualifications. Okay, so tell me the qualifications that you would have loved to have voted for the person with the R next to the name on this last ballot when it came to the district attorney. Here's the problem. You can't, and I'm not meaning to pick on you, but I'm just saying if you're trying to make a larger point here, at least know the facts about this one, because the fact of the matter is there was no R representation. There was no Republican nominee on the ballot there. There was no ballot when it came to this. It was all decided within the Democrat primary, and that's maybe a bigger problem in a different way, but just saying if this upsets you or concerns you, just make sure that something's being put forth here. But I guess in this kind of a case here, as much as I am unhappy, again, I'll refer back to the most recent election, of which, by the way, early voting is creeping up on us tomorrow for the runoffs for the El Paso City Council election, just as a side note. But this is not just your regular elected official position, because it's not just any geek off the street, to borrow an old phrase, can apply and get into this. Whereas I guess technically you could for city council, which is one of the reasons we got all these runoffs going here. There were quite a lot of geeks from a lot of different streets that were very much splitting votes here. And even though there were some strong candidates in a couple of these races, weren't able to do it here. And John Roslin, yes, getting to part of it, that someone knows how to to run a prosecution office. Those are technically, I mean, that's what you would like to have, ideally, though not strictly speaking, the requirement. The requirements are actually pretty simple. You do have to be a member of the bar, so you do have to have a degree, be able to pass the bar exam, and be a member in good standing, etc. Also have to be over 18. So there is a minimum of qualifications that are required there, but it also does make it a little bit more difficult, strictly speaking. Again, you can't just drag anyone off saying, hey, do you think you could run a prosecution wing of a local district attorney's office or any of it? Yes, good. Get your name on the ballot. Yeah, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And bringing up conspiracy theories about it here, anyway, yeah, with more into the fact, I think the fact of the matter is that there were mounting concerns going on with this district attorney and the office and the way it was being handled leading up to this, and pretty transparently as so. But as happens now, because this is a technical position, now, of course, there has to be a replacement selected. Now, this, again, entirely and wholly within the Governor Greg Abbott's court. So a couple of expectations can be had there. So I'm not saying, and RJ saying that, believe that Jaime Esparza was unchallenged a time or two. DA needs a challenger along with every other office. Would wholeheartedly agree with you. Though, again, I guess there's never exactly low stakes. Even if we did have a dog catcher on the ballot, that would still come with its own, hopefully, technical competency with it. That I'm not saying that I think people shouldn't vote on things. You're never going to find me saying that sentiment, but that strictly popularity is not necessarily a good indicator of being able to succeed in this kind of office. This is not your city council or your student council elections where the fact that you can get most people on there. The fact of the matter is that actually being it, that there will be there are requirements. You have to be able to do stuff here. And Eric McNabb saying that they're referring to a scheduled resignation as a conspiracy theory. She has literally scheduled her resignation. So if you're disagreeing with her letter and the time that it is scheduled to be her to resign by, again, December 14th, 5 p.m., I would call that scheduled. But if you're wanting to see conspiracy theories and everything, hey, have fun. Just maybe don't do it here. Anyway, point is that you can't just have popularity. And the fact of the matter is that the skill sets required to get people to vote for you, to garner votes, are almost entirely unrelated to then the execution of the job. I mean, seriously, think about it. What it takes to be able to convince people, you should vote for me. You should do things for me, organizing, campaign funding. I mean, there's some kinds of places where those maybe don't cross apply either, but at the very least, schmoozing, dealing with things, making deals done, at least there's kind of like complementary skill sets, I would say, for your average representative, whatever level we're talking about, of course. I mean, whether it be, city council, city reps, state reps, federal representatives, it does take a little bit of, schmoozing is a part of it. Let's be honest with each other here. But when it comes to a district attorney, legal competence, ability to run an office. So sure, maybe in running a campaign, there's a little bit of cross application, but I got to say, it's not exactly the same kind of thing. Just like the other conversation I've been having lately, the skill sets required to create children are almost completely unrelated to the skill set it's required to raise children. So maybe I feel similarly about that there. So, and RJ, I definitely agree that there should be more challengers, and every elected official should have a challenger. No one should be able to rest on their laurels here. But they're saying that hopefully challengers will bring out the best people for the job. I live in a pipe dream world. I think I'm slipping and sliding on that pipe right there with you, because I hope that would be the case. But, well, let's just say that this is going to get complicated. I think it's going to get weirder before it gets better. I mean, there's frankly a lot of writing on this decision coming out from the governor. So tell you what, we've got through some of the discussion here, right through that next segment right now. So, okay, I got a few names in mind, but more categories in mind about what that potential replacement could be, and maybe some realities. Curious what you all will say about that. So we'll go ahead and take that first break of this hour right now. Again, you are tuned into Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Coming out of this, again, potential replacements. I got a couple names in mind, whether that's realistic or not. Well, we'll break it all down after this break. More Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On your El Paso freeways, you got a 3-vehicle accident that's slowing traffic on the I-10 on-ramp from Loop 375 southbound in the Lower Valley. Delays are back to Bob Hope Drive right now. Montwood Drive eastbound at Treywood, an injury accident. Another crash with injuries, Vista del Sol at Loma Land. And stop-and-go traffic continues on Zaragoza southbound from Pelicano down to the 10 Gateway with 8-minute delays. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
Join GDIT to make a difference impacting the lives of individuals and families. We're hiring bilingual Spanish-English customer service representatives with part-time opportunities available. Apply now at gdit.com/make-an-impact.
Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to save thousands on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, El Paso County Coliseum. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to save thousands on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, El Paso County Coliseum. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. El Paso County Coliseum. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. El Paso County Coliseum. We can remove your old hot tub. Hundreds of hot tubs in stock, ready for immediate delivery. El Paso County Coliseum. Factory direct prices. Just relax and enjoy. El Paso County Coliseum. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Enjoy free admission and free parking. El Paso County Coliseum. Call 855-SPA-SALE or visit spablowout.com.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. Annual enrollment is from October 15th to December 7th. This is the time to select a Medicare Advantage plan and start enjoying great benefits. Part C plans can help you add vision, dental, hearing, prescriptions, gym membership, and some plans can even help reduce the cost of Part B. If you are new to Medicare or just need to renew, Medicare Prepare is here to help. Visit them at 10295 North Loop Drive or call Medicare Prepare at 915-626-5113. In-home appointments available.
At EasyCater, food for work is our thing. Maybe that's why we get orders from 93% of Fortune 500 companies. So what's up with the other 7%?
Everyone, meet our newest employee, Susan. She has an idea that is going to revolutionize our food ordering.
Hi, Susan. So nice to meet you.
Unfortunately, she just gave her notice, and today is her last day.
I'm gonna miss her. Why don't all companies order through EasyCater? Who knows? Order 24/7 from over 95,000 restaurants on EasyCater.com. EasyCater, food for work. That's our thing.
Children who grow up in poverty are part of a destructive cycle. At Child Fund International, we find this unacceptable. In 25 countries, we are vigorously fighting poverty and improving the lives of children and their families. Learn more at childfund.org.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Facebook.com/Talk El Paso is more or less the main one. But yeah, there's a lot of ways you can get at us there. Whatever works for you is the right place for you to be as we continue our mission to have A, live local talk radio here in the borderland, and B, talk about the issues that affect us here, because no one else is going to do it the way that we do it. I mean, seriously, we got all these issues, and there's a lot of outside perspective that tries to tell us how we think and feel, and that's never worked out for me, I gotta say. So if you want to add your 2 cents, got a lot of different ways you can do so. Again, social media pages where you have people like Eric McNabb, RJ, Mike Rios, who else? John Browson and Juans, Eric von Holstein Rathlow, Ida Beza Gardner, Sean Gardner as well. And don't believe that it usually have you juxtaposed like that. I think I asked one of y'all one time in a relation, and the answer was no. If I'm incorrect there, let me know. Not that it's a problem if you are, but hey, just questions. Anyway, questions that are coming up definitely about what happens next with the El Paso District Attorney's Office. Of course, we do have that timeline established that I think essentially that if the district attorney doesn't step down by that point, they will be stepped down. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but more specifically, it comes out that there's going to have to be the replacement selected. So a couple of names, of course, immediately come to mind. And I think there's going to be a lot of you wondering about that. But of course, the immediate previous district attorney is definitely a question about what will be going on with them. Are they available? And the short answer is no, because specifically, Jaime Esparza, former district attorney, who in all to transparency, I guess I technically worked in that. I did an internship back in high school that I was reminded of when I found, I believe I got one of those. You remember those old, morale signs is not quite the right way for it, but like teamwork, empowerment, synergy, those kind of things with like a random picture. In this case, with it was teamwork and the people in the rowboat kind of thing. I found a glass that, well, since we moved house, we're still, of course, in box hell. And I found a glass that I'm pretty sure I got from there having done the internship. I was in victim services or victims assistance. So it was not exactly a lot of FaceTime, though. There was at least one lunch at the old Como's, I think it was. I'm really dredging and pulling back the pages of history here, but that's just full transparency here. I've otherwise no exact loyalty to the office here. But of course, long-serving District Attorney Jaime Esparza is, of course, now been nominated by the Biden administration to be the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Texas. And significantly, that will, if again approved here, which I think is, it's been doing a lot of stuff going on within this lame duck now session of Congress. So I'm not saying that it's exactly going into and going to be happening immediately. I don't see any reason that it might not. But given that, and the fact of the matter is that that will probably put, again, the former district attorney in that position as being in charge of the federal prosecution of the August 3rd case, I don't see any particular reason that there is going to be, well, why you want to come back from that, essentially, just coming right down to it. So I don't see the former district attorney being a particularly likely choice coming out of that there. So, of course, then the next question or one of the potentials that comes to mind would be, okay, what about the opponent in the race that ended up deciding Yvonne Rosales for it, James Montoya? That's, I guess, in a lot of discussion I've had with people, I didn't necessarily see it this way, kind of came down to be the institutional choice, the one that was in the district attorney's office for, according to his public LinkedIn file, at least 7 years prior to his departure there, and had been working in a different U.S. district attorney's office or a U.S. attorney's office. So my phrases mixed up here. But he did announce in October, actually, around about the same time, interestingly enough, that it was the nomination of Jaime Esparza. James Montoya announced on his former campaign Facebook page that he's actually going to be accepting a position at the El Paso County Public Defender's Office. So at that point in time, kind of positioning it to be to opposite the current or the soon-to-be former DA at that point in time. So I'm not going to say that that's, well, I don't know. I guess there's some speculation to be had there of if he would be interested in it or not, have not been able to get a hold of them as he had a couple of messages left, that kind of thing here. But, I mean, he doesn't have a campaign office anymore, so maybe that's a moot point here. In any case, it's a possibility, but here's why I don't think that's necessarily terrifically likely, because as was previously mentioned, so kind of thanks for the layup there, John Browslin, with bringing up the point here. Of course, James Montoya did run as a Democrat in that election that he did not end up succeeding in, that put Yvonne Rosales into the district attorney's seat. And given the fact that we have a Republican governor, I think we're going to be looking at a little bit seeking of simpatico political leanings there coming with it. So I think that's going to put it very likely for a Republican, which I'm not saying is going to be impossible here for town, but I think I have a sneaking suspicion that we might be looking at some outside legal official from outside of town. Of course, this has not been wholly impossible or never happened in our area. Even with some of these cases involving the district attorney, we've had outside attorneys, outside judges coming in to do some of those decisions, including both for the August 3rd case or when it actually comes to the removal case, which now, given that some of those hearings going on, well, they were supposed to appear on November 30th, the previous DA. So, yeah, okay, fine, RJ. You call that obvious here. Just running down some lists of names, and that's why I think categories might be a better way to describe this here, because if it ends up being someone entirely from out of town, I do think that, I mean, managerial experience has got to be the top one there. There's been some interesting articles, including some written over in El Paso Inc. about what the qualifications are going to be needed, because if you're missing those, if you're not going to be following it, essentially following what the actual requirements are, I mean, I guess the stakes aren't necessarily the highest for the governor. I don't think that him making a bad choice here would sink anything for him, particularly since he's, just handily won another election. But I don't think that exactly he wants to be involved with it. Best way I can think to describe that at the moment. Because if he's going to have to do anything to then come back with this, I mean, it's the kind of thing that you want to put to bed and not have to worry again, probably from his perspective, I'm assuming. So I got to imagine probably some other district attorney or ADA in one of the bigger locales here in Texas, or potentially, and this is where the potential gets still out of town here, a former judge, someone who has interacted and knows what's needed to happen within the courtroom, and not necessarily quite exactly the same kind of experience going into the district attorney, but, well, I think either way, it's probably going to be coming from somewhere out of town, because, again, there's not as has been noted, I think on the unelected list of officials, there was one Republican, not unelected, those declared elected because they were running unopposed within this most recent election. So, yeah, it's a fraud experience. So whether they're going to be any kind of finalists or front runners, or this is just going to be something that the governor decides somewhere in that timeline. I think we're on, again, either about 8 days on either side of that actual December 14th date that this decision has to be made. Of course, one of the other possibilities could be that the, existing or the acting, I think that's the best phrase to go with it here, could potentially be announced as it is. But again, I'm not going to necessarily hold my breath on that there, if only because, being involved with the office as it is right now might not be, might not be seen as favorable. I guess best way I can think of that there. But also, of course, came in under an elected Democrat. So I see that not necessarily being the governor's choice there either. One other name that I do want to mention here, and this is maybe more wild speculation than anything, but might be the attorney that actually ended up, pursuing the case, that could be more or less pointed to as being the reason that Rosales resigned, Omar Carmona, local defense attorney. Now, I have no idea if he actually has any interest in such a position, but those are a few of the names that come to mind whenever we're looking at potential replacements, or rather categories. But I think, absent of any other exact evidence, that it's probably going to be an out-of-town choice here. They just better come with some damn good bona fides, all I have to say there. Oh, and the name here, Salah George Alhana, was the first assistant district attorney that has been the temporary replacement named, according to Richard Roman, Rosales' new attorney, according to our news partners there over at KFox 14. So with that, we got to take that next break. Now, a lot of speculation. Get to more of these comments here in just a bit on these names and these possibilities and what y'all think the choice is, might, or could be. But taking that break right now, again, you are tuned into Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of questions coming up there, and we'll get to those here. Stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olgain with your KFOX 14 News Update. It is still not clear when Governor Greg Abbott will appoint a new district attorney for El Paso. Yesterday, embattled DA Yvonne Rosales announced her resignation effective in 2 weeks. She sent a resignation letter to the governor's office saying that she will no longer be in the office. Abbott will appoint someone to finish out the 2 years left on her term. Rosales resigned abruptly in the midst of allegations of incompetence and misconduct. She is due in court tomorrow to answer questions about the Walmart shooting case, but it's not clear if she'll be present. Tonight, the Public Service Board will hear from El Paso water officials about a proposed rate and fee increase. Earlier this month, El Paso Water discussed a new surcharge that would nearly double the monthly fee for homeowners, specifically in the newly developed areas in the Northeast, Northwest, and East side of town. The proposal would add $60 to a monthly fee. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olgain.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
On your El Paso freeways, a 3-vehicle crash is blocking the right lane transition from the southbound Loop 375 to the I-10 eastbound. Expect heavy traffic. There is 8-minute delays, bumper to bumper on the I-10 westbound, Hawkins to the 54 Patriot. 54 southbound Stan Roberts down to Kenworthy is an 11-minute delay. And an accident just reported Gateway East at Airway. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Our warm and windy weather helped push the temperatures into the 70-degree range for us this afternoon. And now tonight, we can expect to have a cool down and lighter winds behind a cold front. Enjoy the cooler temperatures for the next few days as we return back to near average. But we do have a storm system that could bring us some rain over the weekend. Log on to kfoxtv.com for your latest forecast.
This report is sponsored by WellMed, specializing in primary care for people on Medicare. During the Medicare annual enrollment period, choose a plan that includes WellMed doctors. They care because your health matters. Visit mydocmatters.com.
If you run a business, we know how confusing it can be to evaluate all the different advertising options. And at iHeart, we're here to help. We're America's #1 audio company. #1 in radio, #1 in podcasting, digital radio, and much more. With all those insights and all those potential customers, we can help you find new and more efficient ways to grow your business. So reach out, let's chat, and learn more about how we can help your business find new growth. Visit iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
Want to get 7 streaming services for the price of 1? Sign up for a smart bundle that'll stimulate your brain. Featuring Curiosity Stream with the best documentary films and TV shows. Nebula for thought-provoking content from your favorite creators. And One Day University with the best lectures from the country's top professors. And so much more. It's perfect for families with all kinds of interests. And great content for kids. It also makes a perfect holiday gift. Now at 40% off. Get all 7 services for only $3.50 a month. Sign up now at smartbundle.com.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Join GDIT to make a difference impacting the lives of individuals and families. We're hiring bilingual Spanish-English customer service representatives with part-time opportunities available. Apply now at gdit.com/make-an-impact.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Again, I'm definitely not the only one speculating on what's going to be coming out there. RJ is saying that he thought there might be more coverage coming up here on who potential list is. I don't think a list is actually out. I think that we're primarily speculating, is even as you heard from that news update from our news partners there, on a lot of a lack of clarity going on with a lot of this here. But one article that was interesting to me to reread was actually from back in September from El Paso Inc. from former El Paso Judge Chris Antcliffe. DA needs to address problems, not attack judges. So not exactly a list of qualifications or what needs to be done with that office, but closer to it, maybe. And also more coverage from there on our news partners about concerns El Pasoans are sharing about how this will affect such things as the August 3rd Walmart shooting case, which is significant. And friend Holstein Rathlow with an interesting analysis of it here from him, saying apparently this DA went in on a promise of clearing out all the corruption. She fired everyone from the previous DA's office, then fought an uphill battle against the establishment and couldn't get anything done edgewise. Now she's being forced to quit or be recalled, in quotations, impeached, or in parentheses. I guess I feel for her. She got the Trump treatment. It's an interesting analysis here, though there were more than a few resignations as well also. I mean, there was I don't know if clearing house was exactly the right way to describe it, but certainly a seeming semblance of it as they got into the start of that, including, among others, former Assistant District Attorney James Montoya. Though, again, I was willing to chalk that one up to more of a sour grapes. I didn't win. I don't want to work for my opponent kind of thing. But when we're talking about it, I think some of the estimates put it upwards of a quarter to maybe even a third of district attorney staff ended up resigning or being let go. So, I mean, there's clearing house and making adjustments, and then there's questions about sustainability and ability to move forward. Now, I will say that there were a lot of difficult situations that office was in at that point in time, right after the election, including, of course, the pandemic and dealing with the issues coming from it. But even then, at that point, the fact that we continue having these issues, we've talked probably next to immigration. I feel like this is probably within the top 5 of issues that we have discussed quite a lot here. And don't feel like that's going to be going away anytime soon. At least other one other comment. Also, Edgar Ortiz on board with us there. And RJ saying Abbott nominated Democrat, not a good look. And a question again, is there a list yet? I have to admit that an Abbott nominated Democrat would still probably have a tough road to hoe, both here in El Paso and probably even statewide, questions being raised about that. So that's again why I don't even think it's a strong possibility in any case there. And RJ further talking about how there was going to be that Alsala will ensure the office continues to run smoothly, and some implications therein. And Mark Mendigo saying, love local talk radio. Do appreciate that. And yeah, a lot of commentary, and again, the speculation will continue on there. But one other thing I want to mention before we get to those phone calls, as we usually do in this segment, is just a couple of economic things that I'm keeping an eye on here. Of course, it's been kind of being mentioned and kind of being dealt with primarily at the national level, but we, if you haven't noticed, have a lot of railways through here. If you live anywhere near I-10 and a lot of east side places along that way, you might have them going straight through your neighborhood. I know it's not exactly a fun thing, but it was, of course, a major economic and still is a major economic driver, even if a lot of the transfer areas have been put out more towards Santa Teresa. So what's going on with those rail negotiations? Of course, there has been a lot of pressure being put on the administration to make sure that doesn't happen in time for the holiday shipping season, because as much as you might think, 2-day shipping, ship by air, or you're putting on trucks, railway is absolutely one of the major ways that a lot of mass cargo, particularly the wheat saver shipping or what those kind of things y'all are probably going to be doing for your Christmas presents are. Yeah, those are probably coming by rail in a lot of ways, and there have been more than a couple issues with it. So keeping on some of those negotiations, the plan that has currently been put forth within both Congress and the discussions going on with the White House on those things, not sure that it's going to solve the issue so much as punt it down the road, because the real one of the real driving factors from both conversations I've had with people involved in rail, but also analysis going on there, has been that it's really benefits, pay, and safety things for employees that have been really driving this. And if it's just the agreement is to put a kibosh on all that and just say, keep it moving, whatever it takes here, that's not exactly a solution. It's just going to kind of kick it down the road. So whether or not you get past the whole inflection point of this holiday and making sure that everyone can get their stuff to put under the tree on time and then really come back to the table, when it comes to contracts, if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. So if there's a good faith effort being anticipated or demanded, if there's anything to go along with it, good luck. Expect we'll be doing this again here. One other shipping thing, again, why there are mixed economic indicators, including El Paso Inc., further noting that there have been more movement in the regional manufacturing industry, including a Danish company not making danishes as in the pastry, but rather a company on origin from their medical device maker. So they are Danish nationality, Ambu A/S, moving to Wadis in order to establish a more North American manufacturing standpoint here. So that kind of near-shoring trend I still see continuing. Mark Mandingo is saying, yeah, get your gifts on Amazon tonight and kind of try to get in deference to there maybe not being a railroad deal. Yeah. I have done most of my ordering. We're planning experiences. Yeah, get someone's skydiving gift certificate for this holiday instead. That can't get lost in the mail there. They want to make sure they have the parachute beforehand. In any case, so mixed economic indicators still going on. But one of the other implications coming out for the particularly export and import sector, not exactly being produced in this area, but so referring back to our favorite Mexican president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, might be willing to consider an exception for his import ban on corn from the U.S. And that would have some pretty wide-ranging implications for domestic farm production, among other things. So, again, maybe not totally locally, but we would still have shipping coming through here. So if we see that ending up going downwards, that could have some serious implications for our area. So that's one of those negotiations that's also ongoing. So it's not even just about the trains and the railways and what they'll be carrying, but some of the specifics of what they will be and why. Well, the only time will tell, and we'll keep our eye on as much of these as possible to see what the heck is going on with our local economic conditions. Even as further noted in this most recent issue of El Paso Week, that Mexico's domestic airline industry is in shambles, so don't expect much work coming from that aspect of it here. With that, we'll go ahead and open up those phone lines and take that next break of the hour. So again, if you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents that way. The number to do so there is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On your El Paso freeways, a 3-vehicle crash is blocking the right lane transition from the southbound Loop 375 to the I-10 eastbound. Expect heavy traffic. There is 8-minute delays, bumper to bumper on the I-10 westbound, Hawkins to the 54 Patriot. 54 southbound Stan Roberts down to Kenworthy is an 11-minute delay. And an accident just reported Gateway East at Airway. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by WellMed, specializing in primary care for people on Medicare. During the Medicare annual enrollment period, choose a plan that includes WellMed doctors. They care because your health matters. Visit mydocmatters.com.
Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to save thousands on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, El Paso County Coliseum. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to save thousands on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, El Paso County Coliseum. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. El Paso County Coliseum. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. El Paso County Coliseum. We can remove your old hot tub. Hundreds of hot tubs in stock, ready for immediate delivery. El Paso County Coliseum. Factory direct prices. Just relax and enjoy. El Paso County Coliseum. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Enjoy free admission and free parking. El Paso County Coliseum. Call 855-SPA-SALE or visit spablowout.com.
Mom, Dad, let's talk. Before you know it, I'm out of here. I want to go to college or start a business. My allowance ain't gonna cut it. Ooh, sorry I said ain't.
The UNEST app puts smart investing tools right in the palm of your hand. And with the UNEST gifting link, friends and family can contribute to your child's account. Start investing today. Download the UNEST app from the App Store or Google Play. See terms and conditions at unest.co. That's UNEST.co.
Mario Cordy Lopez here with a fresh breath tip for the holidays.
We all love the parties, friends and family, but up close moments can be awkward.
Yeah, they can. Smart Mouth mouthwash gives you 24 hours of fresh breath confidence with just 2 rinses a day.
Smart Mouth is clinically proven to eliminate and prevent bad breath all day, and rinsing at night even stops morning breath.
Wow.
Give yourself the gift of holiday confidence with Smart Mouth. Find Smart Mouth at your favorite retailer or at smartmouth.com/radio.
Tune in to the El Paso History Radio Show this Saturday, 10 to noon, here on 690 AM with your host, Andrew J. Polk, brought to you in part by Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Donovan Drive, at the El Paso History Radio Show, 10 a.m. Saturday, right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Join GDIT to make a difference impacting the lives of individuals and families. We're hiring bilingual Spanish-English customer service representatives with part-time opportunities available. Apply now at gdit.com/make-an-impact.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the show, particularly at this point during the program when we have those phone lines open, if they're full up at the moment. But if you want to squeeze in a little bit later, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. A lot to get to there, and a lot of your comments coming in over on our social media as well, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Such as Richard Janicek, hey there to you as well. Louis Pinato, Marky Mandingo, who is only ordering meat for everyone this year, Omaha meat. You might want to make sure to get on that then, because I can pretty well guarantee some of that's going to be moving by rail. And other things that I don't want sitting in a rail car, I'm going to put anything in the category you're mentioning there, though. Sean Gardner with a interesting alternative, saying shipping Amish Express horse and wagon this year. So you ordered like in September then for everyone here, because we're going, if we're going Oregon Trail logic here, you better order last year is all I'm saying. Any case, a lot of interesting comments coming in on there. If you want to add your 2 cents, certainly can. But of course, we do have those phone lines open right now. So if you want to get on the line, again, that number, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Raul in the Northeast on the line with us here right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Well, you know, who the president of the United States is affects El Pasoans. And the last president affected El Paso in the worst way ever in our community's history with his illegal immigration rhetoric. Mm-hmm. Illegal immigration is something that has been going on for as long as there has been a border between the world's wealthiest nation and Mexico, with a GDP per capita that is 1/5 of that of Americans. Americans are about 63,500 GDP per individual, and Mexico about 9,224. Now, keep in mind that even though that's the case, half of Americans can't come up with $1,000 in case of an emergency without having to sell something or borrow the money. Now, a federal grand jury in Washington, D.C. today found Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes and Kelly Meggs, a member of the far-right organization, guilty of seditious conspiracy in connection with the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol. And 3 other members of the group on trial alongside Rhodes and Meggs, Jessica Watkins, Kenneth Harrelson, and Thomas Caldwell, along with Rhodes and Meggs, were found guilty of obstruction of an official proceeding and aiding and abetting for their actions on January 6th. And then 3 other Oath Keepers pleaded guilty to seditious conspiracy. So this is very bad news for traitorous moron T. Rump. And there are more Oath Keepers who are being prosecuted for their actions on January 6th. And some of these Trump-tard terrorists will probably be flipping on the commander-in-chief and chaos who was impeached for organizing and executing a coup on the Constitution and Congress at the Capitol on January 6th. And and the January 6th committee will soon be releasing its report, and most likely will be making criminal referrals to the Department of Justice, which is already investigating the attack on the Capitol and the stolen documents, and has appointed a special counsel, Jack Smith, who will be looking at all this stuff. So it's not good times for this. And one more thing. On Thanksgiving, Trump feted a Nazi and an anti-Semite at MAGA Local for supper. And I listened to this Nick Fuentes character, and he wants a Trump dictatorship and Catholic nationalism. And Trump, who has Secret Service protection and screening, the duplicitous Donald is claiming that he didn't know him and that he came with his black buddy, Kanye West, another nut, and Uncle Tom.
I mean, I kind of am concerned for Kanye, or Ye as he's known these days. Okay, anytime an artist decides to start making, I mean, sure, I grew up in the Prince era of the artist formerly known as Prince, and that was weird, but maybe baseline for me. But to call Kanye, or Ye again now, to use the changed name, is anything but anything approaching stable would not be in my mind here, because him bringing a white supremacist and forgetting that he's kind of opposed to his own existence there, yeah, not a good one. And as much as I have a lot I don't agree with on Chuck Schumer, but saying the idea that none of these have place, these kind of ideas, white supremacy, et cetera, have no place within anyone seeking particularly Republican Party office, is kind of what he was getting at there. But I'm just going to call it in general and in being broadcasted or boosted further, yeah, there is no place for that. So I think that the whole idea of trying to build up a coalition and deal with people that may have of interest to his base is probably the focus of it there, and very folly in this case. So I'm sure a lot more will be said and mess about that, but it's very interesting that, of course, you started off with that who the president of the United States is very important, and as much as there has, of course, been the announcement of a campaign by it, let's suppose without we've talked about here in this program about what the current sitting president and doing other things here. And honestly, when it comes to, just to, I guess, put a pin in it, the Oath Keeper part you're talking about, frankly, with the prosecution, good, because anyone who was taking a part of that or particularly planning any of that, I'm still using the phrase riot to refer to that, because obviously there were some that had very bad intent, but then there were others that were there because they thought they needed to be and got caught up in the events. I think that's the vast majority of people that were there on that day, based on, yes, both the testimony and the hearings that were coming on. But if there was specific examples of not even just public statements that were being interpreted, but of planning, of collusion, of actual saying, and here is how you will disrupt these things, coming out of the office of the former president at that point in time, that would be a hell of a smoking gun. And as much as the January 6th hearings were definitely focused on painting a very bad picture of the former president, you would think that would have made an appearance, or maybe, just maybe, that's the one thing they held back for the actual investigation. But I don't know about that here. Anyway, let's get to one more quick call before we hit that next break here. So appreciate the point in the call for what it's worth. We do have Eric on the east side with us here right now. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Okay. Well, I wanted to comment, I guess, on the DA. You know, I'm
Sure.
not going to touch on you defending Trump's election fraud lies or Barbara's white supremacy. But, you know, the DA, it's really disappointing that Greg Abbott is
straw man. Continue.
The next DA, because Christian conservatives like him have no respect for the Constitution or the rule of law. They openly reject the Constitution, like the First Amendment, the separation of church and state. They openly fight for police to violate the constitutional rights of Americans, like in regards to our free speech and illegal searches and seizures. You know, we're going to have Christian conservatives, they have no respect for the rule of law and Constitution. That's why they always have to say that they respect the Constitution and rule of law, because if you look at their policies and what they advocate for, they don't. And when you look at what conservative Supreme Court justices have fought for throughout American history, they have consistently fought for expanding the powers of the government over American citizens and the expansion of the police state and the reduction of the constitutional rights and protections Americans have against the government. This is what Christian or conservative Supreme Court judges have ruled across American history. So you have this double talk coming from conservatives about the rule of law, the Constitution in general. It's all lies. And we can't have people like that in charge of our justice and legal systems. And this goes all the way to the very top of the Supreme Court. You have Christian conservatives lying under oath during their confirmation hearings.
Okay, maybe I'm seriously missing something here, but we started off talking about the DA and the possible replacement going to be selected by, I mean, that's what you brought up at the start here. So, well, maybe I'm missing the line of linkage of it here, but so what is that? Okay, just try to describe for me briefly here. We got a couple minutes left about what we're actually talking about when it comes to between these subjects and the new potential district attorney.
Yes, again, Greg Abbott, he's going to be appointing the district attorney, and he's a
Yes.
Christian conservative who has no respect for the rule of law and Constitution or the constitutional rights of Americans. So that DA is going to be poisoned with that toxic conservative ideology or jurisprudence.
Okay, so I guess we'll see, and we get a chance to talk with this new district attorney. I guess we'll ask them that. How are you poisoned by toxic jurisprudence here? Yeah, we'll see how that one goes out here. Again, we'll see who the potential one is. I don't know if we'll get a short list or not from Governor Greg Abbott, but certainly will have a lot of impact on how prosecution will happen going forward. In any case, thanks for the point in the call for what it's worth, even if not necessarily a whole lot of substance so much as being very unhappy with people disagree with you kind of thing going on there. But in any case, got to take that next break of this hour right now. If you want to get on the line, of course, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Be back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. That number one more time, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
An earlier crash in the lower valley on Loop 375 southbound of the I-10 on-ramp is finally cleared up. All lanes are back open. I-10 westbound slow from Hawkins to the 54 Patriot with 10-minute delays, and it's all bumper to bumper. 54 southbound Stan Roberts down to the Trans Mountain is a 20-minute delay. And police on the scene of a new accident northbound Mesa at Wrestler. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Want to get a $300 Visa card from your Medicare plan? At WellCare, our Medicare Advantage plans are simplified so you can enjoy all the great benefits you care about most, like our WellCare Flex card, a preloaded debit card that gives you up to $300 to pay for extra dental, vision, or hearing expenses not covered by your plan, like hearing aids, dentures, prescription glasses, copays, and more. It's just one more way WellCare is improving every aspect of Medicare to give you access to the top-tier benefits you want most, plus a little extra. To learn more about WellCare, visit wellcarefornm.com today. That's wellcarefornm.com to enroll today. WellCare, it's Medicare done well. Benefits vary by plan. WellCare is the Medicare brand for Centene Corporation, an HMO, PPO, PFFS, PDP plan with a Medicare contract, and is an approved Part D sponsor. Our DSNP plans have a contract with the state Medicaid program. Enrollment in our plans depends on contract renewal.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
It's important to know what's going on, especially around the world.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Why? Why take a chance? Why risk a mistake? Why say something? We all have reasons why we choose to ignore the things that give us pause, that seem out of place, that don't feel right. The word why can either paralyze us or empower us to stand up and protect what we love. So if you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my family.
I see safe for my friends.
I see say for my students.
We see say for each other.
I see say because all of this matters.
We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies this community we're all a part of. So protect your everyday. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
Stay informed at kcsmradio.com.
City streets or small towns, everyone deserves a clean, green community. We are Keep America Beautiful, the nonprofit working to end littering, improve recycling, and beautify communities. Let's do beautiful things. Visit KAB.org.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at kcsmradio.com. News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The Biden administration is confident a nationwide rail strike will be avoided. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said President Biden is confident there will be a resolution to an imminent strike. Jurors in a sedition case stemming from last year's Capitol riot have found Oath Keepers leader Stuart Rhodes guilty of seditious conspiracy. This is the federal trial of Rhodes, who led the far right-wing militia. They're accused of leading the effort to stop the certification of the Electoral College following the 2020 presidential election. President Biden is fired up after the U.S. men's soccer team defeated Iran on Tuesday to advance to the knockout stage of the World Cup in Qatar.
USA, USA. That's a big game, man. When I spoke to the coach and the players, I said, you can do this. They went, they did it.
After a political event in Michigan, Biden went back up to the podium for an impromptu speech to celebrate the 1-0 win. The world's largest active volcano erupted for the first time since 1984. Jordan Christmas has more.
Mauna Loa erupted for the first time in nearly 40 years on Sunday night. It's the world's largest active volcano, and at this time, no homes or nearby infrastructure is being threatened. John Matthews said usually volcanic eruptions that happen in Hawaii are at a different location.
You've probably heard about volcanic eruptions on the Big Island of Hawaii before, but usually over the last 38 years, they've been at the Kilauea caldera, which is a different volcanic site.
Mauna Loa was part of a rare dual eruption event with Kilauea, which has been erupting for more than a year.
Several of Deshaun Watson's accusers are reportedly going to be in attendance Sunday when he makes his return against his former team. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. Authorities in California are linking a former Virginia State Police trooper to the murder of 3 family members. Richard Stelling has more.
It started when 28-year-old Austin Lee Edwards catfished a teenage girl and went to the Golden State to meet up with her. Edwards allegedly killed the teen's mother, grandmother, and grandfather on Black Friday. According to police, he left the scene with the teen before police caught up with them, and Edwards started a gun battle. Law enforcement shot and killed Edwards, but the teen was not hurt. Edwards spent less than a year as a trooper in Virginia. I'm Richard Stelling.
Singer Aaron Carter's ashes will be spread in waters off the Florida Keys next year. TMZ reports the former child star's family will scatter his ashes in the spring, along with some remains from his late sister, Leslie Carter. Aaron was found dead earlier this month at his Lancaster, California home. He was 34. Governor Phil Murphy is unveiling $25 million in federal funds for New Jersey's Revolutionary War sites.
American Rescue Plan funds will be invested at 10 historic sites statewide in preparation for the nation's 250th anniversary.
We're going to make our state's unique history come alive in time for July 4th. 2026.
He noted despite attention directed elsewhere at other states' place in Revolutionary War history, more battles and skirmishes were fought in New Jersey than anywhere else. The state expects hundreds of thousands of visitors from all over the world in 2026, and tourism officials estimate about 6% of state tourism dollars come from heritage tourism, amounting to about $3 billion in economic impact. Liz Warner, New Jersey.
The world-famous Rockefeller Center Christmas tree will be lit Wednesday night, ushering in the traditional start of the season. The 50,000 lights on the 82-foot, 14-ton Norway spruce will be flipped on during a televised ceremony on NBC, beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. End the year on a hiring note. Indeed's end-to-end hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Help the planet with a tip from iHeartRadio Earth. Education doesn't just take place in the classroom. There are many ways for children of all ages to learn about sustainability and environmental education at home. Visit iHeartRadio.com/Earth for a list of resources, activity guides, and toolkits that are educational and fun for the whole family. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Ho, ho, ho! It's Santa! The elves are busy in the workshop while I broadcast live from my special studio on iHeartRadio. It's my very own radio station, North Pole Radio. It's all your favorite Christmas songs and me. You can listen to me anywhere on the free iHeartRadio app, and it's really easy to play me on that smart speaker I gave you last year. Just ask Alexa to play North Pole Radio on iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio.
Merry Christmas!
Wildlife poaching doesn't just happen in faraway places. It's a crime committed against countless wild animals all around you. Poachers don't care about hunting seasons, endangered species, or even the safety of other humans. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, which protects wild animals through habitat preservation and by confronting cruelty, needs your help. Learn your state's wildlife laws, so when you witness a crime against a wild animal, you can report it immediately. Help protect wildlife at wildlifelandtrust.org.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. I think a lot of comments, a lot of interesting things coming up there, and as much as we try to keep things focused on El Paso, impacts to it here, etc., then El Paso means kind of the larger region. So, yes, Las Cruces, Doñana County, southern New Mexico, anywhere within our listening area, the broadcast area, it's kind of what I mean. It's a shorthand, but talking about the things that affect us here because no one else is going to. Let me just say this has been bothering me for a minute here. It hasn't been really relevant to bring up here. But increasing conversations going on about phrasing, and I'm definitely not here to enforce any kind of orthodoxy in anyone trying to. Again, good luck to you. You're not going to have a great time. But let me just say this. The idea of increasing rhetoric and of pushing things to the extremes out as much as possible and calling, this is why, as much as calling everything communism because you don't like it, to me when you really mean totalitarianism, or calling everyone that you don't like fascist, either way of it is, sure, there are literal fascists, literal communists, literal totalitarianists, the right phrase for them, out there, and they want to do bad things, or even white supremacists, all the flavors of the rainbow, ironically enough that comes in, whether it be, the Klan, neo-Nazis, Aryan Brotherhood, all these things, people that are out there and espousing violence and wanting to see their political and often ethnic goals enforced by force of arms and such here, or deserving of such labels. And then we try to lump in someone saying, among other things, a question came up yesterday about the Center for Immigration Studies, CIS, who, by the way, we've had guests from that think tank previously on the show here, and I guess I treat it much like I do any kind of opinion section of a newspaper that, sure, there might be some people on there saying things that I absolutely don't agree with, will never support here, but to discount all of it is saying that, well, therefore, you can't listen to any of it. Again, anytime that it's going to be you can't talk about that, you're not allowed to, it's not right, there are certain very basic things that we're going to enforce on this show, such as the right of people to exist. There's no broaching of that subject in my mind, but otherwise, talking about it is a way that understanding is garnered here. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to those phone lines again after that point here. Number to call, again, full up at the moment, but if you want to get on the line, the number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. I just got to say, if you want to lambast someone, come with like facts, evidence, and discuss the actual points as opposed to just saying that they're bad and will always be bad. Let me just put it that way. Anyway, let's go with, and if you're going to call people on straw man your arguments, don't do the same thing yourself. Just say. Anyway, Barbara on the west side on the line with us here right now. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make a few comments today. First of all, I'd like to comment on Eric's comment.
Sure.
Hey, El Paso, don't you feel blessed and privileged that we have a legal scholar, a clairvoyant, and a historian amongst us? I enjoy his phone calls because he just teaches us so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Raul, Raul is right. We have had illegal immigration in our country forever. But we've never had illegal immigration under an administration that is willing to eviscerate our borders, threaten our sovereignty, and let people come into our country that are unvetted. We have no idea who they are, what they've done, what their potential for crime is, what the potential for harming our country is. That's the difference between illegal immigration today and illegal immigration in the past. But we've never had illegal immigration at the magnitude numbers that we now have. That's the difference between a little bit of illegal immigration and manageable immigration and a surge at our border that nobody knows what to do with. But I was calling actually regarding a video today that Project Veritas put out regarding a whistleblower. This lady has worked 19 years in the federal government. She worked in the Council of Inspector General on Integrity and Efficiency, investigating government fraud and abuse. What she is stating, and I put the video on your website, I put the link on there just now. She volunteered in 2021 to work with HHS to place unaccompanied minors throughout the United States. Well, she has since been fired, of course. She has stated that the Biden administration is actually delivering unaccompanied minor children into the hands of traffickers. Sponsors are not related to these children. And they had an interview, should I say, of a lady in Austin, and she spoke to these children in Spanish. And one young lady said that she had been thrown out of her place because the lady that she was staying at, she said that they told her that she knew her, but she said, I really didn't know her, wanted her to have sex with a lot of different men. And she said she didn't want to do that, so they threw her out. And then she said that in Austin, this gentleman applied for sponsorship of 2 children. He used 2 different addresses. And within a 3 or 4 mile radius in Austin, you'll find a corner of 25 children, she said, or 20 in the other place, or 35 in the other one. But we are sending children there often enough to be concerned about it. So she went to speak to her superiors. And this is what she was told. And I'm quoting, "We only get sued keeping kids in care too long. We don't get sued by traffickers. Do you understand what I'm telling you?" That's what she was told by her superior. And the reason he is saying that is because the administration has relaxed stringent vetting policies and added different field guidelines for them to go by. So they are encouraged to push these children out within 14 days, place them without 14 days. So she said, our tax dollar is flying these children to people who are not their sponsors, and that's what they are encountering in these children. So I'm thinking back of, and she said that most of these children are Guatemalan. So I thought back, remember when the president of Guatemala said that the United States is facilitators of trafficking? So many countries know more about our country than we do. They make these comments, and later on, 2-3 months down the road, we hear something, oh, wait a minute, you know what, that president told us this, or that president said that. Look at China. President Trump had policies in place and programs in place to track what China was doing in our country, and Biden came in, and of course, he eviscerated those. But now we hear China has their own police stations within our country. And now the FBI is saying they're very concerned about that. And I'm thinking, everybody knows something about us that we don't know. Listen to what the president in El Salvador said, remember? His 1-hour interview. He said that looking in from the outside, There's nothing that can explain what's happening in the United States except that it's intentional. Why would an administration want to implode our country? And then yesterday, a gentleman called about the president lifting sanctions on Venezuela. Think about what he does to our oil industry. He's basically placing sanctions on the banks because they're not allowed to fund any projects for the oil and gas industry. So he's sanctioning our country and lifting sanctions in a communist country. This makes no sense whatsoever. Thank God that we have the House. Republicans have the House. Let's see. I'm hoping that some common sense legislation comes out of it, or at least slow down what's going on. Check into these things about illegal immigration, because the president, somebody has to know. And you know what? I'm going to send this to our congresswoman and see if she's aware of this, because we're talking children now.
Mm-hmm.
Although everything is critical of what's happening in our country, somebody needs to open somebody's eyes. And I'm hoping that she will take the time to listen to this video. And this is going on in Texas. Project Veritas says the next state will be Florida. So let's keep posted, guys. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you for the point of the call. Do appreciate it. Let me just say this, that anytime you end up having to deal with large groups of children, whether it be in this immigration situation, or I'm aware of similar situations that have happened in the past involving domestically, just like in the foster care system. And I'm not necessarily trying to compare the two, but at a certain point, they have a level of similarity of just having to deal with large numbers of kids. We have this problem domestically, regardless of immigration, and if not handled incredibly carefully, and I do mean incredibly carefully, with a level of care and investment in the systems that provide that care, and it's just as a, well, figure out whatever the solution is, we just need to deal with this. If that's the attitude that's taken towards it, bad things happen. And this has been, outside of the example you were given there, in a lot of different ways. I mean, there's horror stories and one-offs, sure, they need to find the whole system, but the fact that this can be allowed to happen, of people essentially like trading kids around, saying, well, I don't want that one, do you want this one, and treating them as property, essentially, because they're not emancipated, they don't have their own rights, they're subject to their guardians. And I guess that's what it reminds me most of in that the Project Veritas reporting you're talking about there. And so if it's getting anything near that, that is, I mean, it's a self-own in the worst way of allowing that to be able to happen there. Absolutely have to say here. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating is the word I can say right here. It's messed up in a whole variety of ways. And again, when you start thinking about people as numbers and not as actually what we have to deal as individuals and persons, as people that would have all the same kind of hurts, gripes, and complaints about the treatment that they would be getting if you were in that same situation. Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and take that next break right now. We got more calls on the line. We'll go ahead and keep taking those. So if you want to get on the line, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
If you're on the I-10, either direction, you're going to run into major delays. Two big crashes here in the last few minutes. I-10 westbound at Lomaland. That crash is blocking the left two lanes and causing delays already. Back to the loop with 20-minute delays. I-10 eastbound at the Hunter Viscount exit. That crash is blocking two left lanes and delays are backing up there already. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. And the year on a hiring note. Indeed's end-to-end hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and instantly receive a shortlist of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to save thousands on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, El Paso County Coliseum. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to save thousands on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, El Paso County Coliseum. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. El Paso County Coliseum. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. El Paso County Coliseum. We can remove your old hot tub. Hundreds of hot tubs in stock, ready for immediate delivery. El Paso County Coliseum. Factory direct prices. Just relax and enjoy. El Paso County Coliseum. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Enjoy free admission and free parking. El Paso County Coliseum. Call 855-SPA-SALE or visit spablowout.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hey listener, welcome to Limu's Karaoke Lounge, where Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need, and the music never stops. Hit it!
There's an emu with a full-time job. His partner's Doug, but Limu's the heartthrob. Grubs and worms, that's what Limu eats. Gotta fuel up to save you money and hit the streets.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod, noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Anyway, if you want to add your 2 cents over there, more than welcome to. Also dropping those likes and reacts. We do appreciate Marky Mandango, Ed Clore, Ion Graham, and Ida Beza Gardner, among many other comments coming in here. So we wanted to talk about things and actually discuss the issues as opposed to just labeling people. Hey, more than welcome to. Otherwise, we'll continue on there. Again, those phone lines open as well. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. And we're taking those calls to the end of the hour as we usually do there. So a lot of ways to chime in there. So discussing a variety of situations involving and affecting us here in the borderland right now. So let's get back to those phone lines now. We do have Andrew on the west side of the line with us here right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. With regard to the appointment of a district attorney until the next election,
right,
I would have to agree with you. And say it would probably be an out-of-town candidate.
Unless there's, again, I don't know if we're going to get a short list. I don't know if we're going to get any real indication before the governor just says, oh, by the way, this is your district attorney now. I mean, that is the situation we have found ourselves in. I guess I would kind of hope there would be those previous things I mentioned, maybe a little bit more involvement, but I think it's entirely the governor's prerogative to do that or not. So there's not much, there's nothing to be done there besides speculate. So just given some of the tea leaves being read here as best I can, that's the best analysis I've been able to come up with. And I think that hopefully I would like for it to be local. I'd like for it to be someone that is familiar and able to manage the local issues. I think one of the things that actually made somewhat of a difference, at the very least it was commented a lot by people on this program in the lead up to the district attorney's office election, was some of the initiatives that Yvonne Rosales had put forth, including more focused prosecution whenever it came to crimes against animals and animal cruelty, those kind of things. So knowing and actually what is important to people here in the region, I think would certainly be something leading to the success of whoever ends up replacing the district attorney.
Yes, but however, I would say whomever they appoint, remember this, are they going to be willing to give up a law practice here, and a law practice that they may have been doing for many, many years?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is the back and forth. And I mean, that is technically where Rosales came from a law practice herself and stepping into that position. So I guess if someone out there really wants to be considered, I hope they're making some noise about it if they're willing to step into that kind of position here. So I don't know. I think that'll probably be nothing much to know right up until it all happens just immediately. Like it'll probably happen all at once is my kind of anticipation here.
Yes. Well, Rosales did step out of a law practice, but she was a prosecutor before. But I'm sure that with her intention when she got elected, that her intention was to make it a career and retire from the service as an elected official.
Potentially, though, of course, whatever, I mean, best laid plans and all, whatever the focus was, I don't even know if it's worth speculating on here, given just the way things have turned out, because, yeah, whatever the plan was, it didn't work out, simply put.
Yeah. Well, you don't give up a law practice like she had unless your long-term goals were to retire as the elected prosecutor. But anyway, my next point was in reference to what Raul was saying. Well, yes, we've had immigration for centuries. Yes,
sure.
In this country, maybe I should say decades. But anyway, we've never had such problem with immigration. I mean, Biden literally not only sent out an open invitation to everybody, but he actually, he took the door off the hinges.
Referring to, again, the policy changes that we've seen over the course of the start of this administration?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And just today, there was a memo discovered by in a lawsuit where Secretary Mayorkas sent out a memo to people in ICE discouraging them to enforce immigration law.
Yeah, I mean, there's always been, and that's further part of the problem here, is that a lot of the policies, I mean, if they're talking about actual established law and procedures that have been passed in legal packages, that is one thing. But part of the problem is that there's been so much, jurisprudence is the right phrase for it here, but essentially leeway that has been given between administrations to set their policies and priorities because there have not been laws passed. So, I mean, yeah, giving someone a green card that has not met the requirements, gone through those processes, yeah, that would be against the existing laws. But I think that's part of where the conflation kind of happens with it here, that there has been so little actual legal changes made in literal decades that, I mean, sure, people may say, well, you're not following the policy, but if it's just executive to branch policy, it's technically their prerogative to be able to change. That's actually one of the Supreme Court cases that has come up within this last term that they was reaffirming. And when it came to, among other things, the ending of the MPP, Migrant Protection Protocols, so-called Remain in Mexico policy.
Yes, but in the case of Mayorkas, if you're going to be in charge of Homeland Security, and the key word is Homeland Security, and you're going to sit back and collect a paycheck and not enforce the law, you are opening yourself up for removal. I would say more power to the panel that seeks to impeach him if they can.
I mean, I guess we're talking about maybe slightly different as opposed to not following the law, as opposed to, I think a lot of the arguments going to be coming down from that potential, investigations for when the changeover of the House happens to essentially amounting to incompetence at best or malfeasance without following through and mismanagement at probably more likely.
Well, Homeland Security is a law enforcement agency. You are charged with enforcing the laws of this state. I mean, of this nation, not opening the doors to everybody in the country. I mean, outside the country. One other thing, reference to Eric, sir. I respect your right to speak and voice your opinion, but please, sir, get educated because you have no earthly idea what you're talking about. Anyway, Andrew, I turn the mic back over to you. Have a good evening.
You too as well. Appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there. All right, appreciate it. And we'll go ahead and tell you what, in deference to not shortchanging the next call, we'll go ahead and take that next break right now. So coming out of this break, we'll get to more calls in line, more of the comments that have been going by, and mention a few of those here. So stay tuned, more Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, if you want to get on the line, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Yes, there is space in the line, which is why I'm saying it that way and not saying that there is no space. If the lines are full, I'll tell you all. But again, number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 News Update. It is still not clear when Governor Greg Abbott will appoint a new district attorney for El Paso. Yesterday, embattled DA Yvonne Rosales announced her resignation effective in 2 weeks. She sent a resignation letter to the governor's office saying that she will no longer be in the office. Abbott will appoint someone to finish out the 2 years left on her term. Rosales resigned abruptly in the midst of allegations of incompetence and misconduct. She is due in court tomorrow to answer questions about the Walmart shooting case, but it's not clear if she'll be present. Tonight, the Public Service Board will hear from El Paso Water officials about a proposed rate and fee increase. Earlier this month, El Paso Water discussed a new surcharge that would nearly double the monthly fee for homeowners, specifically in the newly developed areas in the Northeast, Northwest, and East side of town. The proposal would add $60 to a monthly fee. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
If you're on the I-10, either direction, you're going to run into major delays. 2 big crashes here in the last few minutes. I-10 westbound at Loma Land. That crash is blocking the left 2 lanes and causing delays already. Back to the loop with 20-minute delays. I-10 eastbound at the Hunter Viscount exit. That crash is blocking 2 left lanes and delays are backing up there already. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Our warm and windy weather helped push the temperatures into the 70-degree range for us this afternoon. And now tonight, we can expect to have a cool down and lighter winds behind a cold front. Enjoy the cooler temperatures for the next few days as we return back to near average. But we do have a storm system that could bring us some rain over the weekend. Log on to kfoxtv.com for your latest forecast.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
Join GDIT to make a difference impacting the lives of individuals and families. We're hiring bilingual Spanish-English customer service representatives with part-time opportunities available. Apply now at gdit.com/make-an-impact.
Tune in this Saturday, 10 to noon, for the El Paso History Radio Show on 690, brought to you in part by Patrick Tuttle, Coldwell Banker Heritage Real Estate, 915-585-7777. That's the El Paso History Radio Show, Saturdays at 10 on News Radio 690 KTSM.
New on Curiosity Stream. Across the globe, coral reefs are dying, but not without a fight. Scientists discover a new heat-resistant super reef. What's its secret we can use to save the rest? It's Breakthrough Reefs of Hope. And humanity's future, a thriving multi-planet species, or will AI run the show? See how today's choices in technology and science may seal our fate on 10 Seconds to the Future. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. And for a limited time, get 40% off our annual plan. That's just $1 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
At Batteries Plus, we power family road trips. We power bedtime stories. We do more than replace batteries and fix phones and tablets. We help our neighbors power their lives. Visit us in-store, curbside, and at batteriesplus.com.
This report is sponsored by Batteries Plus Bulbs.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments coming in there, likes, reacts, all of that. One of the better places that you certainly can, including Eric McNabb right there, as well as Mark Mandingo, Ed Clore, Ion Grimm, and Ida Basic Gardner. Among other comments here, including Ralph Francisco Amaya saying the Border Patrol is still doing its job like always. The workforce and budget has remained about the same size. I think that's probably part of the problem, at very least locally here, because it's not a simple thing to get more staffing whenever it comes to Border Patrol. The process, again, I've had the professional opportunity in the past to be involved in, not this line of work, previous ones I've done, in the actual background investigation process, and it is extensive. Like, they don't just say it's a year because there's just like a mountain of paperwork. There is a mountain of paperwork, but it doesn't take a year to get through. But the processes, including the background investigation, are extensive because, well, ironically enough, they don't want just any geek off the street wandering into that job either. So it takes a lot to get it on. So that's why it's not even necessarily like a hiring increase can be really focused on within one administration. It has to be a concerted policy, and we just really haven't seen that. Don't want to say within the last few administrations. Let's put it that way, because sure, there's been other attempts. I mean, that's why we've seen like the border deployments happening from the National Guard, or the staffing of the non-law enforcement positions. I mean, that was going on. Gosh, this is getting a little bit out of my true professional experience, but I want to say back in the Bush administration, second Bush administration, GW, that is, that happened there. Yeah, I don't remember that. The things when I first became aware of it anyway, in order to relieve some of that stress here, because yeah, making it so that there's ability to do the actual enforcement part of it and not just the monitoring part of it has been, again, probably since that point, one of the major ways that things are able to be changed in the short term, and that's been the focus on it here. But might be wrong in that, in my perception of it there. If anyone's got any better idea, let me know. Anyway, let's go back to those phone lines now. We do have some callers on the line, including Ben on the east side here with us right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hello, Andrew. In response to Raul's comments on the January 6th monkey court investigations and prosecutions, according to the New York Times, the FBI had an informant embedded in the Oath Keepers for months before January 6th. It turns out he was the number 2 guy in the Oath Keepers organization. The FBI informant was secretly reporting on the activities of the inner circle of the leader of the Oath Keepers militia, which was Stuart Rhodes. And the FBI informant, Greg McWhirter, has started to raise questions about why the FBI didn't know and didn't do more about the attack on the Capitol before January 6th. Near the start of Mr. Rhodes' trial, Abdullah Rashid, a former Oath Keeper from West Virginia, told the jury that he became alarmed by the violent words Mr. Rhodes was using in a video conference with members of his group. And on November 2020, and provided the FBI a recording of that call. He said he thought that they were going to start a war against the U.S. government. But the FBI didn't respond to Mr. Rashid's attempts to contact him, and only reached out to him after January 6th. One other thing, also the head of the Proud Boys, it turned out, was a government informant. If the FBI had all these contacts and claimed this was a prior plot, why wasn't it stopped beforehand? If it was a seditious conspiracy and not a spontaneous riot, what is the benign, innocent reason for the FBI lack of response to all this information? And one last thing, why did it take the FBI 13 months before opening an investigation of the pipe bomb on January 6th? And why is it now that it's reported that the video of the pipe bomber, and when they were laying down and when he was putting out the pipe bomb, that video has gone missing? Your response.
I mean, I don't have a good answer for your question there, but let me say this here, that the idea of anyone, I mean, the kind of way I was describing it here, of it being a riot with some apparently with better planning and better ideas of what they actually wanted to happen during it. I mean, it wasn't, I don't think, just a coincidence that there were a temporary gallows set up on the steps of the Capitol there. There were clearly some that went there with very ill intent, including those that probably led the parts of it here. I mean, this is what an investigation I would really hope would get into in answering those questions, and a lot of the prosecutions that have happened with it have been kind of going towards it. But I guess I can't necessarily say on why they didn't take certain steps in those actual investigations when it actually came to the FBI, but rather point to maybe previous situations that have happened of where they're essentially, to my understanding and the way it often goes, is that federal law enforcement, FBI, and any of the other, three-letter agencies similar in their own wheelhouses are interested in prosecutions. They want to make sure that they can lock someone up for prosecution. So conspiracy to do something, or the conspiracy to say that, well, they might be thinking about it. I mean, the whole, what was it, the Michigan governor situation kind of comes to mind here. But even then, it was in the action of them doing it that they ended up being, actually, they didn't just like write down a plan and therefore present that as evidence. They, were like loaded up, ready to go, those kind of things here. So it's often the threshold that I think is where the mess up happens, essentially. So they're waiting for these guys to move beyond words, which could be argued in court as being, well, they weren't actually serious about it. These were jokes, nothing in Minecraft, those kind of arguments here. Waiting for them to do something, and may have waited too long, essentially, in the deference towards prosecution. So not knowing exactly like the tapes that are missing, you're talking about what those would show, it would be, I think, maybe too much caution in trying to make sure that prosecution would actually happen more and less than just like sending a message kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, in a way it does, but it does also make sense. It seems like with all this information and everything, did they not want to do anything about it because they really wanted this to happen? And also, in response to Raul, one more thing. All these defendants that have been prosecuted and convicted, we got to remember that it was 5 D.C. juries that have convicted all these defendants. The defendant attorneys have petitioned over and over again for a change in venue, but every one of these cases were denied. So every January 6th defendant is going through not a jury of their peers, but a jury of people that hate Trump and want these people to be convicted no matter what they did.
Again, like that, sending the message part of it coming out there, possibly there. So, all right, we'll appreciate the point in the call. Thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Okay, let's go, Brandon.
All right, and with that, let's get to, I think we have time for one more call, at least in this segment on the line there right now. We do have Israel in the Mission Valley on line with us right now. Israel, thanks for joining us.
Yes, I want to point out about you saying about commenting about that Homeland Security. Yeah, to enforce the laws. But I have seen here in El Paso, and I will tell you about somebody that worked in the customs and the bridge. He's dead now, but he was convicted in court of taking bribes from drug smugglers, and he didn't go to jail, but he lost his job and he lost his pension. And another thing, right now, there's a ex-border patrol officer that killed 3 prostitutes in Laredo, Texas, that he's charged with murder. And so, you think that all of these people are angels? No, I don't. But I on the one, and I'll tell you one thing. In one of the parades in the Thanksgiving parade, when I saw them marching, on the street, I did yell insults to them, to the Border Patrol. So have a good day, okay? Bye-bye.
Sure thing. Thanks for the point of the call. You have a good one there as well. Let me just say this. Yeah, men are not angels, and holding anyone to the standard of they have to be angels is unreasonable. They have a job to do, and a very important one that if you actually want open borders, if you're in favor of that kind of mentality, you would not want them there. I want them there. I want them doing that because not even necessarily I'm worried about any individual coming across, but the potential that it then brings up of going back to essentially a frontier system, going back and look at history, and there's the idea of the closing of the frontier, more or less in the U.S. that happened, roughly, post-war, post-Civil War, I should clarify, period there, and when it became that, borders weren't enforced, essentially they saw the pacification of the Native Americans at that point in time. It was a major policy as part of it, part of the reason that Fort Bliss continued to exist, honestly. But the making of that, it's actually a controlling of the borders and not just, hey, as long as you don't run into anyone or try to be an invading army, it's not really an issue. It was a big, big change. And so, of course, it takes, actual enforcement to make that exist. So if you want to go back to the frontier system, I can't say I'm going to be in favor of that one here personally anyway, but I give a lot of credit to Border Patrol for the work and the jobs they do, particularly given the very politicized amount of support they often end up getting here, because if you like the policies that they're following or not, that then becomes a legislative question. But the ones willing to do that kind of work here, again, there's a lot of pressure put on them, and most of the conversations I've had with individuals involved with that is in deference to that. Sure, there are bad apples in anything, but the entire point is to not let them ruin the rest of the bushel, is the way that phrase is supposed to go. Anyway, I think we got time for one more call here we can get to quickly here. We do have Tristan in Las Cruces on the line with us here right now. Tristan, thanks for joining us.
Hi, nice to see you all today.
You as well. What's on your mind?
I was wondering what your take was on Kanye West. Lately, he made that comment to a reporter about how I guess he was saying that the heads of a lot of media companies are actually Jewish, and he was kind of going on and on about that sort of thing. And he seems pretty unapologetic about it. And he actually did go and meet with Trump recently. And Trump kind of kicked out that element of his team when he got rid of Steve Bannon a while ago. And he's, a pretty big supporter of Israel and all that. So I was wondering what your take was on sort of that kind of kicking away of that element, but then now inviting back in Kanye with what he's doing lately.
Well, if you go based on the statements that have come out of the Trump, campaign would be the right way to put it at this point in time, would be that they weren't really sure of the implications of that or of the guest, Nick Fuentes, that was brought up earlier. So, I mean, I guess I'll reiterate that I have concerns about the stability of Kanye, or Ye, again, the name that he has now chosen for himself as part of this, as I don't know. I mean, the guy has never been exactly a beacon of stability. He's made some good music that I've appreciated here, but as much as has been said for other people of, particularly like in the sports arena, that why don't we go talking to them about politics? They should just stick to sports. And it's very interesting that that's not being said whenever it comes to Ye in this case. And I guess I'm just worried about him more than anything else here. But I'll just reiterate here that anyone promoting white supremacy, ethnic superiority of any shape or form, and particularly violent solutions for it here is not going to get my vote or my support in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds good. It was just really interesting that they brought that back in out of nowhere, because it seemed like a bad optics move on their part, especially now that he's announced for 2024. It seemed really odd.
Yeah, I'll tend to agree with you on that point there. So, all right, well, thanks for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, have a good one there. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and take that next break right now here, and some comments that I can't bring up there about saying that levels of crazy here. But like I said, we got to take that last break of this hour right now coming up. Tell you what we got coming up for you on the show here. And, oh, by the way, we got early voting starting tomorrow. We'll break that down for you a little bit and more things after this break. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 westbound at Loma Land, a crash there blocking 2 left lanes and a 40-minute backup. I-10 eastbound at the Hunter Viscount exit, that accident has cleared. All lanes are back open, but there's still a 13-minute delay back to Cotton Street. And the 54 south, San Roberts to the Trans Mountain, 30-minute delays. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
Join GDIT to make a difference impacting the lives of individuals and families. We're hiring bilingual Spanish-English customer service representatives with part-time opportunities available. Apply now at gdit.com/make-an-impact.
Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to save thousands on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, El Paso County Coliseum. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to save thousands on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, El Paso County Coliseum. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. El Paso County Coliseum. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. El Paso County Coliseum. We can remove your old hot tub. Hundreds of hot tubs in stock, ready for immediate delivery. El Paso County Coliseum. Factory direct prices. Just relax and enjoy. El Paso County Coliseum. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Enjoy free admission and free parking. El Paso County Coliseum. Call 855-SPA-SALE or visit spablowout.com.
Hi, this is Joe Cordell with the law firm Cordell & Cordell. Divorce can be complicated, especially if children are involved. If you're a father and want to protect your role in your children's lives, remember Cordell & Cordell. We've helped men with matters like these for 30 years, and we'd love to help you.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Dallas-Fort Worth area attorneys, a partner men can count on. Offices in Dallas, Fort Worth, and St. Louis. Online at CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Because everyone deserves excellent medical care, El Paso has its own free community medical clinic. RotoCare is a free walk-in clinic located at 301 South Schutz Drive and is devoted to improving the health of all El Pasoans, including those without insurance or legal documentation. RotoCare is open most Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon. For more information, call 790-0700. RotoCare, because everyone deserves excellent medical care.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot to go on this week because, among other things, and I'm not going to lie, this kind of crept up on me. Early voting starts for El Paso tomorrow. Yeah, of course, Election Day is coming up a little bit later on. Some of those voting guides starting to come out here, including what I'm looking at right in front of me now. El Paso Matters, December 13th, the last day of early voting, with Election Day being December 17th. And for those at all confused about what we're talking about here, we got District 1, District 6, and District 8 on the ballot for the city of El Paso, as there was not anyone getting above those 50% there. So, yes, we've had some of those candidates on, including the candidates for District 1, Brian Kennedy and Annalisa Cordova-Silverstein. District 6, we did have on the incumbent, Claudia Lizette Rodriguez, and some, we didn't really touch on District 8 at all beforehand, so we'll be delving into those, don't you worry there. I think we have time for one more quick call on the line here before we hit to the end of the program here. We do have Frankie and Messia on the line with us here right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
All right. You cannot be serious. This guy goes out and hosts this nutjob anti-Semitic person and some guy that's a racist and claims he didn't know. What kind of nonsense, off the wall, boneheaded nonsense I've ever heard in my entire life. This is prima facie that's Polish for first fact evidence that this guy is 100% exactly what Rex said about him. That's what I want to say. How in the world can you people out there support this nut job when he does this kind of nonsense? It's beyond belief. That's my comment.
I get what you're saying there, and I guess the way I think it probably comes about it is that think about how campaigns, we were talking about that a little bit earlier in the program, how campaigns work. You're trying to convince as many people as possible to actually then go along with you, and often looking in underserved, shall we say, is seemed at least initially as maybe a good idea until you start figuring out some of the baggage about it here. So I honestly don't necessarily disbelieve the claim that I had no idea who he was, particularly since it was a guest of Kanye, and Kanye and the former president have a interesting history already as it is. Never actually met Nick Fuentes, though when I went to a CPAC 2 years ago now, apparently he was holding his own kind of weird mini conference ceremony thing outside because he had been banned from it here as an action that I still find myself agreeing with here, because anyone saying that there should be a separate country for any ethnicity because of their merits of ethnicity, yeah, that's not a person that I'm going to have a real good time discussing things with or ever find myself supporting here. So if they're, I guess the best that I can see coming out of this here in this current situation would be them saying, no, we do decry this, we do denounce this. And I think that would be a good step to be taken here. Whether or not that happens, I guess that's one of those only time will tell kind of thing.
Well, again, I mean, it just blows my mind, Andrew. I'm a normal thinking individual, at least I believe I am. But to host these two people and to claim with a straight face, you don't know who they are. When you got the Secret Service that's got to vet these people, it just flies in the face of credibility or credulity, you know. And I just hope, and I know this is going to be very mean, but I hope all of them suffer from ptomaine poisoning. And that's my comment. You have a good night.
You too there as well. Appreciate the point on the call. Have a good one there.
All right. Bye.
My favorite threat/epithet lately has, I hope you bang your toe every day for the rest of your life is a good way that I've thought about it here. Anyway, that's about going to do it for us on the show here today. So as I mentioned, the things that we got working on for you or that we got coming up for you on the show will be more talk about particularly the Texas legislative session because there is a lot to come there, as with some other very interesting analyses of threats and or things being said by people in the comments there. If I never get to all the comments, you got to go take a look out there for yourself for the most part. In any case, that's going to about do it for us for today. So more coming up for you. We'll be visiting with our news partners there at KFOX 14. I know we've been off of it for a week or so here, ever since we've had some of that out of the office time. So don't worry, we're getting back on that and talking about some of the big stories and in-depth reporting going on in the region, as well as, yes, delving into the legislative session. What are some of those priorities coming from our local legislative delegation and what they're going to want to be seeing put forth and hopefully put into actual legislation, plus some of the other big topics coming from that, including that big surplus that I think that 20 billion plus as it's being measured so far, that is going to be probably one of the bigger, if not actually listed things, subtext for this whole session coming up here. So more of that and a whole lot more to come for you on the program. So I want to thank everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. Seriously, whatever the level is, as long as you're coming here with wanting to discuss the issues and not just scream at people, you can literally do that anywhere else. You're welcome to do that, and we'll do that every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. here on the show. So until the next one, stay safe out there, look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A multi-vehicle accident blocking two left lanes I-10 westbound at Lomaland is causing a 45-minute delay I-10 westbound from the loop to Lomaland. An earlier crash I-10 eastbound at the Hunter Viscount exit is cleared, lanes back open, but still 10-minute delays from Cotton to Hawkins. And slow traffic on eastbound Liberty Expressway from the 54 Gateway to the loop, it's a 13-minute delay. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
The holidays are a busy time. If you plan to go to someone's home this holiday season, please find out if there are firearms and if they are safely stored. Practicing safe gun storage protects our kids, prevents accidents, and keeps our firearms out of the hands of criminals.
To learn more about how to talk to others about safe gun storage, go to safegunstorage.texas.com for more information. And let's keep them safe, Texas. Brought to you by the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Mario Cordy Lopez here with a fresh breath tip for the holidays.
We all love the parties, friends and family, but up close moments can be awkward.
Yeah, they can. Smart Mouth mouthwash gives you 24 hours of fresh breath confidence with just 2 rinses a day.
Smart Mouth is clinically proven to eliminate and prevent bad breath all day, and rinsing at night even stops